What if I told you that a single jar and a handful of dried beans could become a protein factory in your kitchen in just 5 minutes? 3 to 5 days later, you're eating a living food that contains 6 times the antioxidants, 27 times the vitamin C, and nearly 4 times the folate of the original seed. No soil, no sunlight, no garden required. NASA sent these beans to the International Space Station in 2021 to test whether they could protect astronauts from cosmic radiation. Researchers at Cornell found that sprouting them created an explosion of disease-fighting compounds that did not exist in the dry seed. Restaurants across Asia have served them for centuries. You can grow unlimited amounts for the price of a bag of dried beans that costs less than a cup of coffee. 2 things explain why almost nobody in the West does this at home. One involves a cultural blind spot about what protein looks like. The other involves an industry worth billions that profits when you believe fresh food requires refrigerated trucks, plastic packaging, and a barcode. By the end of this video, I will show you the exact 5-minute setup that turns any jar into a protein and vitamin factory. But first, you need to understand what is hiding inside these tiny seeds. Welcome back to Everyday Harvest. There is a seed so ancient it predates written history, so nutritionally dense that sprouting it multiplies its healing compounds by factors of 4, 6, even 27. So fast to grow that it transforms from a hard, dry pellet into a crunchy, living food in days. It is called the mung bean. The story of how this seed fed civilizations for over 4,000 years was validated by modern science as one of the most powerful functional foods on Earth, was tested aboard the International Space Station, and yet remains virtually unknown as a home-growing staple in the Western world, is one of the strangest food stories you have never heard. Around 1500 BCE, farmers in India began cultivating a small green legume that would become one of the most important protein sources in human history. In Ayurvedic medicine, mung beans were considered the most easily digestible of all legumes, prescribed for the sick, the elderly, and young children. They called them the king of beans. 4,000 years of observation had taught healers that this bean healed people faster than anything else. Over centuries, mung beans traveled across Asia. They reached China, where they gained prominence during the Han Dynasty. They sprouted them and stirred them into soups. By the time Europeans encountered them, this tiny green seed had already sustained civilizations across an entire continent. Throughout all those centuries, across dozens of cultures, one preparation method appeared again and again: sprouting. Billions of people independently arrived at the same conclusion. Something extraordinary happens when you add water to this seed and wait a few days. It took modern science until the 21st century to explain why. In 2012, a team at Cornell University published a study. They took dried mung beans, sprouted them, and measured what happened to the nutritional content. Vitamin C, essentially absent in dried beans, exploded during sprouting. By day 8, sprouts contained 24 times more vitamin C than the dry seed, created from nothing but water, air, and time. Total antioxidants increased 6 times compared to the dry seed. The researchers identified a compound called quercetin that surged during germination. Quercetin is one of the most studied antioxidants, linked to reduced inflammation and better heart health. The seed barely contains it. The sprout is loaded with it. Sprouting flipped a biochemical switch that turned a pantry staple into a pharmacy. But it gets stranger. Sprouting also removes bad things. Every legume contains anti-nutrients that block mineral absorption. Sprouting reduces phytic acid by 75%. It dismantles the barriers that prevent your body from absorbing nutrients. The seed contains a locked vault of nutrition, and germination is the key. Folate increased nearly 4 times. Folate is critical for DNA synthesis and fetal development. A jar of 4-day-old sprouts could deliver a significant portion of that requirement for pennies. The medical research on mung bean sprouts reads like a pharmaceutical wish list, except no drug company funded it because you cannot patent a sprouted bean. Studies show mung bean extract protects against sepsis. Compounds from sprouts reduce colon cancer cell migration by 50%. Peptides from mung beans lower blood pressure similarly to prescription drugs. These findings come from peer-reviewed journals. They describe a food available in every Asian grocery store for a few dollars a pound. It sprouts in a jar on your kitchen counter in less than a week. Yet how many doctors recommend mung bean sprouts? How many nutritional guidelines mention them? In the West, the answer approaches 0. Instead, we have supplements. The global supplement industry is worth over $170 billion. A jar of sprouts on your counter competes with every one of those bottles. It provides vitamin C, antioxidants, complete protein, folate, iron, and polyphenols in whole food form. Research shows whole food nutrients are absorbed better than isolated supplements. A handful of sprouts is not just cheaper than vitamins, it may be more effective. Now, here is where the story leaves Earth. In 2021, a SpaceX rocket carried mung beans to the International Space Station to test sprouting in microgravity. A separate study revealed something even more remarkable. Italian researchers exposed germinating mung beans to radiation similar to what astronauts face in deep space. The sprouts not only survived, they produced more antioxidant compounds in response. The plant was literally creating its own radiation shield. NASA documentation states that antioxidant-rich foods like beans would protect crew members from cosmic radiation. The food that could protect astronauts on a journey to Mars grows in a jar on your kitchen counter in 5 days. The same seed that sustained Indian civilization for 4,000 years sits in the bulk aisle of your grocery store. The same sprouting process billions have used for centuries requires nothing more than water and a container you already own. Nobody connected these dots for you because nobody profits when you do this yourself. So why do almost no Western households sprout mung beans? 3 forces explain it. First, visual bias. We are trained that protein means meat, a steak, eggs. A jar of tiny white sprouts does not look like protein to someone raised in Western culture. But a cup of cooked mung beans delivers 14 grams of protein. Sprouted, it becomes more digestible. Second, economic incompatibility. A 1-pound bag of dried mung beans costs $2 to $4. That bag produces 10 to 15 pounds of sprouts. You just grew $20 to $60 worth of food from a $4 bag, using nothing but water and time. No corporation can profit from something that multiplies its volume by 10 in your kitchen. Third, perishability. Fresh sprouts last 3 to 5 days. You cannot ship them globally. Industrial food depends on products that survive weeks of storage and cross-country trucking. Food that is best eaten the day you grow it favors the home grower. The system ignores what it cannot monetize. Consumers never learn what they were never taught. Now consider this. The average family spends $300 monthly on groceries. Much goes to produce that lost nutrients during transit. 1 pound of mung beans at $3 produces enough sprouts for a family of 4 for a week. That is $12 per month for fresh, living food with more antioxidants, more vitamin C, more folate, and more bioavailable protein than almost anything in the produce aisle. A bottle of vitamin C supplements costs $10 to $20. Protein powder costs $30 to $50. Antioxidant supplements run another $20 to $30. That is up to $100 monthly that a $12 bag of beans can functionally replace. The economics are so overwhelmingly in your favor that they feel like an error. They are not an error. They are the reason you were never taught this. Now, the 5-minute setup. What I am about to describe will sound too simple. You will think I'm leaving steps out. I am not. The mung bean already contains everything it needs. You are just triggering a biological program. Here's what you need. First, a wide-mouth glass jar. A mason jar works perfectly. Second, a breathable cover. Cheesecloth with a rubber band. A fine mesh lid costs $3. It needs to let air in and water out while keeping beans contained. Third, mung beans. Buy dried whole beans from any grocery store. A 1-pound bag costs $2 to $4. Fourth, clean water. Filtered tap water is fine. Here's the process. Measure 1/4 cup of dried mung beans. This seems small. That 1/4 cup will fill the entire jar with sprouts within days. Rinse the beans thoroughly. Remove any that are broken. Place them in the jar and cover with 3 inches of cool water. Cover with your mesh lid. Soak for 8 to 12 hours. Overnight is perfect. This soaking phase activates enzymes. The dismantling of anti-nutrients begins here. After soaking, drain all water. Rinse with fresh water, drained thoroughly. The beans should be damp, not submerged. Standing water breeds bacteria. Invert the jar at an angle in a bowl so excess water drains and air circulates. Place it away from direct sunlight. Mung beans sprout beautifully in darkness. Twice a day, morning and evening, rinse the sprouts with fresh water and drain thoroughly. That is the entire routine. 10 seconds twice a day. Here's what happens over the next 3 to 5 days. Within 24 hours, tiny white tails emerge. The seeds have cracked open. Life is happening inside your jar. By day 2, those tails are 1/2-inch roots. The volume has increased. By day 3, sprouts are 1 to 2 inches long. The jar that started 1/4 full is now half full. By day 4 to 5, you have a jar overflowing with crisp, fresh sprouts. The original 1/4 cup has multiplied in volume by 8 to 10 times. You are holding food that did not exist 5 days ago. Food with 6 times the antioxidants, 27 times the vitamin C, nearly 4 times the folate, 75% less phytic acid. Food still growing minutes before you eat it. Give them a final rinse. Swish in clean water to remove loose seed coats. Drain well, eat immediately or refrigerate for 3 to 5 days. They taste best within hours. The first time you do this, you will feel like you cheated. There is no way this much food grew from a handful of beans and tap water. But it did. The taste confirms it. Scale this up. 3 jars started 2 days apart, a rotating cycle. Within a week, you have fresh sprouts every single day. Perpetual living food from a few jars, water, and a $3 bag of beans. That is it. The culinary uses are endless. Toss them raw into salads. Stir-fry with garlic and soy sauce. Add to soups at the last second. Blend into smoothies. Top sandwiches and grain bowls. Billions of people already know this. The knowledge was never lost. It was just never passed to the Western world. But the most powerful thing is what it does to your relationship with food. Producing your own nutrition from start to finish is profoundly satisfying. No supply chain, no middleman, no wondering where it came from. You harvested it yourself seconds before it touched your plate. Parents report that kids who refuse vegetables will happily eat sprouts they grew themselves. Watching a seed crack open and grow rewires a child's understanding of food. It becomes something alive they helped create. That experience cannot be shipped. Now, the elephant in the room. You rarely hear about sprouting from mainstream sources because it undermines 3 industries. The supplement industry sells isolated vitamins in capsules. A jar of sprouts delivers whole food nutrition for pennies. The processed food industry depends on you believing convenient nutrition requires factories. Sprouts grow themselves with 0 processing. The meat and dairy industry depends on you associating protein with animals. Mung beans contain up to 31% protein. Sprouting makes it more digestible. No corporation benefits when you produce your own nutrition in a mason jar. The global bean sprout market is valued at $4.5 billion. People buy this product in plastic packages instead of growing it in their own kitchens. Here's what they never wanted you to understand. Nutritional independence does not require land, money, or permission. One of the most powerful nutrient-dense foods ever studied grows in any jar, in any climate, in any apartment in 3 to 5 days, from seeds that cost less than a cup of coffee. The ancient farmers who domesticated this bean 4,000 years ago knew it was special. Ayurvedic physicians called it the king of beans. Modern science took 4 millennia to confirm them. Cornell researchers documented a 6-fold increase in antioxidants. Italian scientists found sprouts fight cosmic radiation. NASA put them on the space station because when every gram matters, sprouts deliver more nutrition than almost any other food. A mung bean is a compressed biological program. It waits for water. In days, it multiplies its vitamin C 27 times, dismantles its barriers, and converts stored energy into living tissue. You are curating a living pharmacy that renews itself every 5 days. It costs less than a cup of coffee and requires no prescription. The seed already knows what to do. It just needs water, air, and time. 5 minutes to set up. 3 to 5 days to harvest, 6 times the antioxidants, 27 times the vitamin C. No soil, no sunlight, no permission needed. The only question left is whether you will start. If this video planted a seed in your mind, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm you are part of the movement toward real food independence. If you haven't already, subscribe to Everyday Harvest. We're here every week with practical strategies for growing your own food. Hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment. What are you going to sprout first? What questions do you still have? What is stopping you from growing your own food right now? Let's start a conversation. Let's build this community together. The revolution isn't coming. It is already here. It starts with a jar, a handful of seeds, and the courage to begin. Get sprouting. I will see you in the next one.